Hey girl, welcome back to the pod. And before we dive into today's episode, I want to be able to share with you 2 different ways that we can work together. I get asked all the time, Lindsay, how can you support me on my recovery journey to freedom? Well, I've got 2 special ways to do just that. The first is the Recovery Collective. This is my group coaching community where women just like you come together to heal and to support each other and to do the deep work. You're going to have access to me. We do every other week calls and a sisterhood that gets you right where you are. If you want to grab your spot today, go on out to herbestself.co/recovery collective. And if you're ready for deep transformational work, if you want someone in your corner who is going to hold you accountable and have that hype girl energy at the same time, plus remind you of who you are when that eating disorder voice tries to convince you otherwise, now's your moment. I'm currently taking applications for a few new clients, and if you feel you are looking for that support, I might just be your girl. Go on out to herbestself.co and you'll see the client application there. Now let's dive into today's show because we're talking about the one word that is keeping you stuck in your journey to recovery and how you can break free. Let's do this. Hey girl, welcome to the Her Best Self podcast. I'm Lindsay Nickel, former competitive figure skater and perfectionist, turned God-led imperfect boy mom and digital CEO. If you find yourself constantly thinking about food and wondering if you'll wake up one day free from the obsessive thoughts and behaviors controlling your life, then I've created this podcast for you because I know exactly what it's like to be a downright hot mess trapped in a destructive cycle of disordered eating. I finally found freedom and you can too, girlfriend. So if you're ready to heal your relationship with food and body and break the chains of control and show up in your best health, then grab your favorite Tarjay journal and let's get to it so you can start living your best life as your best self. Hey girl, welcome back to the Her Best Self podcast. Today we're talking about one word, just one, that is absolutely destroying your progress. One word that's keeping you stuck, chained, paralyzed, you name it, living in a constant state of shame and disappointment. Shame and disappointment. Think about all the shame and disappointment you might be experiencing right now. That word, sis, is should. And I need you to stop right now and listen to me. Stop shoulding all over yourself. Like right now, today. Because every time you tell yourself that you should be doing something, or what you should have accomplished by now, or where you should be in your journey to freedom, you're not motivating yourself. You're actually making it harder to take action. Let me explain. First, I want to talk about where all the shoulds come from. I feel like there is a land of the shoulds because they didn't just appear out of nowhere. They were planted. They were taught. They were absorbed from every single message that you've ever received about who you're supposed to be and how you're supposed to show up in this world. Your shoulds, sis, they come from so many places. The first is diet culture. You should be smaller. You should eat clean. You should only use 5 ingredients. You should have willpower. You should look like her. The second is perfectionism. You should have this figured out by now. You should be recovered already. You should be doing better than this. The next is family expectations. You should make everyone proud. You should not be a problem causer. You should be strong. And then there's all the trauma. You should have been able to prevent that. You should have known better. You should be so over it by now. But don't forget comparison. You should be as far along as she is. You should be making more progress than her. You should be different than who you actually are. Sis, these shoulds create this distortion in your mind that where you're currently at is so far behind where you should be. And so you live in this constant state of never enoughness. Not far enough, not healed enough, not recovered enough. Heck, the eating disorder is just going to tell you for the rest of your life that you're not small enough. And sis, that's so exhausting. And it's keeping you right here. So I wanted to talk about some of the science behind why should is keeping you stuck. Because I don't just want you to take my word for it. I feel like we've talked about shoulding in our culture But yet people still should themselves every single day. Heck, I caught myself doing it, which is why I brought this into the podcast today, because I was like, you should go record an episode. And I was like, well, I could, but that's neither here nor there. Here's what research tells us about the word should. According to psychologist Dr. Albert Ellis, the founder of rational emotive behavioral therapy, should statements are one of the core irrational beliefs that lead to emotional disturbance. He literally calls shoulding and masturbation, which I find so hilarious, which are the belief that things must or should be or look a certain way. And when reality doesn't match that should, we experience anxiety, we feel depressed, guilt, and shame. So these are all the ingredients that equate to an eating disorder life. A study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that people who use obligatory language like should, must, and have to experience higher levels of stress and lower levels of intrinsic motivation compared to people who use choice-based language like I choose to, I want to, or I could. And here's why. Should is the language of obligation. That does not equate to empowerment. It's the language of shame, not a language of choice. And when you operate from obligation or you operate from shame, I mean, think about every day you woke up and got on the treadmill and you didn't want to. You're operating from a place of pressure externally. You're not operating from internal desire. And here's the kicker. Research from Stanford University shows that when we focus on what we should be doing, but we aren't, our brain literally gets stuck in a loop of self-criticism rather than problem solving. So we're so focused on the gap between where we are and where we should be that we actually can't take action. We get into paralysis mode. What does this actually mean? Should keeps you stuck, and it keeps you focusing on what you aren't doing rather on what you are doing, what you could be doing, or even moving forward at all. And in eating disorder recovery and in trying to overcome this unhealthy battle between food and your thoughts and your body, this is just a state of deep destruction, okay? So let me give you some examples of how this shows up. Maybe you say, I should eat this, or I should try that. This implies obligation. This isn't choice. This strips away your agency. And when you eat from obligation, you're not honoring your body. You're just checking a box because you feel like you should do something. And that doesn't build trust. That builds resentment. So if you're like, I should want to better myself. I should hire you, Lindsay, as a coach. I should want to be better, but you don't. It's okay to not be there yet. But maybe try on something else. Like, I could consider eating this today. I could work with you to get more support to navigate this journey forward. This is more open. It creates harmony. Here's another one. I should start today. This implies you're behind in some way, like you're late, that you're already failing before you've even began. And says instead of starting with hope, you're starting with shame, and that's no way to start. Here's another one. I should be so much further along by now. I don't know how many clients I've heard this from. This one is the killer of all because it assumes that there's some magical timeline that you're supposed to adhere to and be on and that you've missed it somehow, that there's a deadline and that you're failing if you're not, quote, there yet, wherever there is supposed to be anyways. I should be able to eat normally. Compared to what? I always say this. Compared to who? This should is rooted in comparison, and it is so unrealistic. It is setting you up for false expectations. It completely ignores the reality of your journey, your body, and your personal story. Or better yet, my favorite of all faves, I should be over this by now. Okay, so this one I have to tell you a little story about because years into my recovery, I still had moments where I struggled, moments where the eating disorder voice would creep back in at times where I felt out of control or maybe a big life event, moments where I felt anxious about food or what I was going to be eating and around who I was going to be eating with. And I remember just one day thinking, I should be over this by now. It has been such a long time. And then it clicked for me. Am I really treating this like a bad boyfriend that I dated for 3 months? And why am I still thinking about him anyways? And I felt like so much shame. What is wrong with me? Why am I not fully healed? Why do I have all these thoughts? And I stopped myself and I asked a different question. But should I? Should I be over something that was part of my life for so long? This wasn't 3 months. Should I expect perfection from myself in this area that has been one of the hardest things to overcome in my life? Should I continue to shame myself for being a human? And the answer is no. So I reframed it. Instead of, I should be so over this by now, I said, I'm healing at my own pace. And that's exactly what I need to be doing. And my spirit animal is the turtle. So just like that, the shame lifted from me, the pressure lifted, and I would continue to repeat this over and over, which meant I could actually move forward instead of staying stuck in that self-junk and judgment. So think about your shoulds and ask yourself if you've really been saying, I should be so over this by now. Should you? Should you be over something that's been part of your life and a struggle for a really long time? Should you expect that of yourself? So here's what I want you to do. I want you to catch yourself shoulding, and I want you to reframe it. Here are 5 positive reframes that you can try on today. Instead of, I should eat this, or I shouldn't eat that, I choose to nourish my body with this, or I'm giving my body what it needs. And this is why it works, because when you choose language that equals choice, not from a place of scarcity, you equate empowerment to your life. Like you actually bring in that energy. It's not out of obligation. You're making a conscious decision to care for yourself. I do this now with my own exercise. Instead of, I should go do this, it's, I get to, I could. Maybe I want to go on my walk today. I get to choose to do that. It gives you that hype energy. Here's the second one. Instead of, I should start today, I should really try again on Monday, I should do this, I want you to say, I'm ready to begin today. I'm ready to take the step. Today is a great day to take the next right action. Why this works, friend, is because you're removing any sort of feeling of shame of being behind. We don't like to start from a place of being behind everyone else, right? And you get to replace that shame with readiness and hope, which actually gives you an advantage. Okay, number 3, instead of saying, I should be further along by now, I want you to say, I'm exactly where I need to be in my journey. Or I'm making progress, even if it doesn't look like I thought it would right now. And this works because it honors that you are unique and you do have a special timeline versus everyone else's, and that's okay. It allows you to get rid of that comparison. Progress isn't a straight line, and that is okay too. Number 4, instead of saying, I should be able to eat like everyone else, or if only I could eat normally, I want you to say that I'm learning to eat in a way that honors my body. I'm building a new relationship with food, and that takes time. This works because you're removing these unrealistic standards and expectations that you have over yourself, and you're replacing it with patience and compassion. When you come from a place of love instead of a place of fear, when you set goals from a place of love and compassion instead of this unrealistic expectation, you actually get what you want. And that's the game changer. And last but not least, instead of saying, I should be so over this by now, I want you to say, I'm healing at my own pace, and that's exactly what I need to be doing. Or try on something more generic, like recovery is a journey, not a destination. I'm on my way. Sis, this gives you permission to be a human because you are a human and you're not perfect, even though in our minds, I know we wish we were, and sometimes we think we are. But you have permission to heal in your time. So stop trying to rush the process. Wouldn't you rather get to the end of it all and go, wow, that might have sucked at times, but it was beautiful and I don't regret any of it, versus getting to the end of where you think you, quote, should be and realizing that you went so quickly through some of the process that you have to start back from zero. Here's the compassionate truth. You are not behind. You are not failing. And honestly, you are not broken. So I want you to stop believing these lies. You are healing, and healing doesn't follow a script. It doesn't follow a blueprint. It doesn't follow a timeline, and it doesn't look the same for everyone. So when you stop shoulding all over yourself, I know that sounds like something else, but I promise I'm saying shoulding. You create space for what is actually true. And here's the truth. You're doing the best you can with what you have, right? You're allowed to be imperfect, right? You're allowed to take time, right? This didn't happen overnight. This tsunami didn't just create itself overnight. Little and by little, there were choices that were made to restrict food and over-exercise and isolate yourself because of the disordered and intrusive thoughts. So you're allowed to choose yourself and take your time without shame. And when you replace should with choice, with compassion, with truth, you unlock the ability to actually move forward in action instead of staying stuck trying to think about what you're thinking about. So let me also give you an edge here, because compassion doesn't mean that we don't challenge ourselves, okay? I don't want this show today to just be motivational for you. If you're constantly shoulding yourself, but you're not taking action, you're using should as an excuse to stay here. I hope you hear me, friend. If you say, I should start recovery, this becomes a way to avoid actually starting. If you say, I should eat better or I should choose something different, this becomes a way to avoid actually nourishing. This becomes a way to restrict even more. If you say, I should be further along, this becomes sometimes a way to avoid doing the work to get further along. And when we're really honest with ourselves, we can see where the shoulds start becoming excuses. So here's your challenge. Stop talking about what you should do and start choosing what you will do. Not because you have to, not because you're obligated to, not because you should, but because you want to. Don't you want freedom from the shackles in your brain? Aren't you ready to heal because you want to, because you choose to? So here's your homework for today. Catch yourself shoulding. Maybe it's just catch yourself doing this a couple times a day. And when you do, pause. Practice the pause. I tell this to my clients all the time. Ask yourself, where did this should come from? Is this true, or is this just an expectation that I'm putting on myself? Maybe it's even a self-sabotage so that I can stay here in my excuses. What would I say instead if I spoke to my best friend or myself with compassion? And then I want you to use one of these 5 reframes that I gave you earlier, or just create something that feels more aligned with you. Stop shoulding and start choosing. Write it down. Say it out loud. Let your brain hear a different story. Because sis, the words that you use, they shape the life that you live. And if you're constantly shoulding yourself, you're living in this place of obligation and shame. That doesn't feel very fun, right? That doesn't create motivation. That doesn't want to get you up in the morning. It keeps you depressed. But when you choose yourself, when you speak kindly, when you honor your journey instead of trying to judge it, that's when you become the best version of you. Not the version you should be, but the version you're becoming. And listen, if you're sitting here thinking, I need help with this and I can't do this alone, I need some help to reframe these thoughts, I am so here for you. Here's the summary from today's show, if you take nothing else. Stop shoulding. You're not behind. You're not failing. And the moment that you start to say, I will, instead of something that feels like so much pressure and obligation, that's when everything changes. I cannot wait to see who you are going to become as you choose to become her and take one step in that direction. Until next time, I love you, girl, and I'll talk to you real soon. Bye for now. Oh, friend, thank you so much for letting me share what was on my heart today. My hope for this podcast is to help more women find freedom from food and body. If this has empowered or blessed you, let me know. I'd be honored for your rating and review of my show, and I'd love to connect with you in my private Facebook community. You really can move from perfection to purpose. Let's break the chains together. I'll help navigate the way. Until next time, bye for now, girl.